Black men are 20% more likely to experience serious psychological distress than white men, but half as likely to seek treatment. Today, we're talking about why, and we have a guest who's going to tell us about some nationwide conferences for you, Black men. So it's time to lock in. This is Blacktivities. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Lisa.
And KK's here too. And you're listening to Blacktivities,
A celebration of all things Black.
Black culture, Black history,
Black perspectives, and Black panache.
Celebrating our Blackness doesn't mean exclusion.
Everybody's invited, but you gotta come in and have a seat.
So let the Blacktivities begin. Hello again. I'm Shannon. We also have Lisa, KK. Welcome to Blacktivities. Whether it's your first time joining us or you're a regular listener, we appreciate you. Blacktivities is a safe space where masks are off, and we make that link from past to present. Because when you learn about our past, our present makes a lot of sense. Today, we're making that link to Black men's mental health, and we have a guest, Dr. Camillia Harris, founder of justUs MH Foundation. I'm going to give her a proper introduction after the big facts, but first I want to know from Lisa and KK, why does this episode on Black men's mental health matter to you as Black women?
I feel like it matters because a lot of Black men, because of the things that they go through, they're kind of pushed aside. Like no one focus on their actual mental, the things that they go through as Black men. So I feel like it's important that we do shed light on it because it is important. You're just as important as everybody else.
And I would say that it matters to me because I know Black men who have and are actively seeking therapy. And not only are they trying to ensure their own mental health, there is also a recognition of a lack of Black, whether they're male or female, but particularly male. There is a huge lack, a huge gap in the support in our community where we're represented. There aren't a lot of mental health counselors in our community, male or female. And that's what I've noticed. And I'm really advocating for that to change.
Awesome. Well, if anything discussed in this episode makes you think about the mental health of a Black man in your life, or if it makes you take a step back and start thinking about your own mental health, which I hope it will, I linked some mental health resources in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. Before we get into the conversation, I got some big facts for you. Want to hear it?
Let's
Here
go.
we go. All right, so when African men were brought to this country in chains, they were classified as property under American law and treated as such, not as human beings deserving of equal rights and protection. Mental health iniquities began during the time of colonialism and slavery, when myths of racism were being integrated into the developing field of psychiatry and psychology. By the end of the 19th century, many psychologists accepted the idea that African Americans were biologically inferior. In 1851, a physician named Samuel Cartwright defined drapetomania as a treatable mental illness that caused enslaved Black people to flee captivity. Treatment included whipping the devil out of them, that's a quote, as a preventative measure. And the remedy included the removal of big toes to make running a physical impossibility. After slavery ended, Southern states embraced the criminal justice system as a means of racial control. Black codes led to the imprisonment of unprecedented numbers of Black men, women, and children who were returned to slavery-like conditions through forced labor and convict leasing that lasted well into the 20th century. The history of slavery and the systematic oppression of African Americans has negatively impacted mental well being. 20 to 30 million Africans were captured and forcibly brought into chattel slavery. This systematic abuse aimed to psychologically dehumanize African Americans. And historians point to intergenerational trauma that shaped the mental health of Black men to this day. Black masculinity has been traced to slavery, when physically strong Black men were recognized and selected for highly physical labor. That concept of Black masculinity did not stop when slavery ended. Black men are conditioned from childhood to be strong, to be the provider, to not show emotion. And research has found that continuing those traditional masculine traits, particularly self-reliance, is linked to reduced engagement in health-seeking behaviors among Black men. The National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities reports that Black Americans are 20% more likely than white Americans to experience serious psychological distress. Yet Black men may feel they need to live up to a specific ideal of strength that minimizes their ability to talk about their feelings. Despite a steady decrease in overall suicide rates in the United States, the rate among Black males has increased in recent decades. Suicide is now the third leading cause of death in this population. From 2014 to 2024, suicide rates among Black people rose 53%, the largest increase of any racial group in the country. And yet in 2024, Black adults were 36% less likely than the overall U.S. adult population to have received mental health treatment in the past year. And that's big facts. All right, so let me properly introduce our guest. Dr. Camillia Harris is an inspirational mental health advocate, founder of justUs MH Foundation, and a 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. In the wake of her father's tragic death in a murder-suicide in 2019, she has emerged as a beacon of hope and change in the mental health arena. Harris initiated the Black Men's Mental Health Conference, a pioneering city-to-city event aimed at addressing mental health among Black men. And it has made stops in places like Ohio, Texas, Atlanta, Detroit, and Alabama, to say the least. With over 24 years in healthcare, IT, and communications, Camillia is dedicated to connecting individuals and organizations to promote mental health initiatives, focusing on breaking stigmas and enhancing accessibility to resources. Her commitment is further demonstrated through a recently received honorary doctorate in humanitarian efforts for her mental health conference work. Dr. Harris holds a master's in communications from Marist College and is a published author, public speaker, and contributing magazine writer. Her latest work is a children's coloring book entitled I Am, a coloring adventure of affirmations for children, which aims to promote positive mental health from a young age. Her story of resilience and service underscores the power of advocacy and education in transforming mental health landscapes. Please welcome Dr. Camillia Harris.
Hi, everyone. This is Girl Power on here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Put some respect on that doctor.
Yes.
Come on. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Dr. Harris, in your bio, you said that there was a murder-suicide involving your father. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And is this what inspired you to create justUs MH Foundation?
Well, absolutely. So in 2019, my father tragically took his life. In the wake of that, he actually completed a murder-suicide. And so as my family incurred that loss and that heavy pain and grief, oftentimes people think that grief goes away when the person passes on. But for me, I always give it in my opinion, you actually just learn how to live with it. So in 2019, after navigating through that and going through grief myself, I came upon the opportunity to want to create something for the Black man that had no voice. I always say my dad stood 6'5", didn't curse, didn't drink, didn't smoke, attended church, and was in the church choir. And he still wore the image of suicide, right? So there is no perfect picture. There is no perfect landscape of what someone that may be suffering in silence actually looks like. And so I decided, what can I do? What can I do with my experience? What can I do with my career? And so I decided I wanted to create an app. I was going to create an app that spoke with emojis that connected to the provider network system. So based on your emoji, it can read to your mental health therapist or your doctor the state of your mind, right? Because if you think about it, the world speak with emojis. So I was just going really, really hard at it, and I realized I wasn't dealing with grief. And I heard God say, stop. And then after taking the time to just deal with my grief and learn how to cry without feeling like I'm losing my mind, I heard him say, gather. And I thought to myself, there is no way that I'm going to be able to gather Black men or men, period, in one room to discuss what they've been taught not to discuss. But I didn't question it. I operated out of obedience and I did just that. I kicked off. I like to say the flight took off in Dayton, Ohio, where I'm born and raised, where my dad did demise. I kicked off and uh, started the plane in Dayton, Ohio, and I started the first Black Men's Mental Health Conference on behalf of Just Us MH Foundation, and it has been growing ever since.
Are you still using the app, or is that something that you stopped doing?
So I paused the app. I paused
Okay.
the app to focus on gathering, right? I think in the wake of just social media, COVID-19, we have got so far away from being in the presence of each other.
Yeah.
Even though when I do the conference, people are like, oh, you should stream it. And you and I both know the minute you stream something, people will less likely come into attendance. And I just think that when you can be in the presence of someone, you can truly identify how they're feeling and what they're actually experiencing. Uh, I like to say my dad transitioned within 72 hours of the daddy that I knew, and then the man that completed that crime on that day. I was daddy's girl. I'm the oldest of five by my mom and dad. So imagine all five of us, including my mom, we have the same pain, right? So who do you go to? I lent to prayer. Went to therapy. But so I did not continue on the app. I created the conference so that we can gather and be in the presence of each other. I was going to say during that time period of my dad demising, I recall him saying, baby girl, I'm okay. You know, daddy, you know how sometimes people take you there? And I said, well, yeah, daddy, I know, but you scare me. You
Mm.
taking me somewhere else with your thoughts. And he was like, oh, I'm fine. But he refused to let me physically see him. And I already knew he wasn't, but that just speaks to it's nothing for me to say, Shannon, how are you feeling? You're like, oh, I'm okay. But I can witness that for myself if I'm in the presence of you.
Right.
And so, yeah. So the app is not going. I would love for that to kick in at some point. But I think once we kick off enough conferences, and if God willing, I touch in every state, then he can say stamp approved, kick off the app.
Absolutely. What did mental health look like or not look like in your own upbringing? And I would like Dr. Harris to answer this first, but if you guys want to chime in after that, that would be great.
Right. So I think for most in the Black culture, I can't speak for all, I think it looked like silence, right? You didn't talk about it. If you did know someone that had a mental health concern or something like that, we attached a stigma to it. Oh, they're crazy, they're weird, right? They kind of got ostracized, but it looked like silence. And if there was someone dealing with it, then it looked like functioning with pain, right? Most people, go cry it out, go pray it out, go sit down somewhere. The
Yep.
common denominators of conversation in the Black community. So to be honest, it just looked like silence because we did not talk about it. at all.
I have to agree. The silence, I feel like that's a perfect example of exactly to answer your question, the silence. And with silence among our community, it leads to isolation to where a lot of people are isolated. I have to say that with me because of certain things that I possibly went through when I was younger. I purposely isolated myself to where I was quiet and I didn't want to talk to anybody because I didn't have anybody asking me, how am I doing? Or what's wrong with you? If my mom did ask what was wrong with me, because I knew my mom was the strong type person, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to get her riled up. And I don't want her to yank nobody up. So I kept a lot of things to myself, which when it came to my children, because of that silence and what led to isolation, I didn't want them to experience that. So I feel like that plays a major part into how we are now when it comes to us with the Black culture, and how we are kind of paying more attention to what's important. So I totally agree with Dr. Harris on that.
I just want to first say I'm sorry for your loss and the loss of the victim's family. Secondly, I want to say that for us growing up, I mean, we're not that far out of um, mental health, physicians being called quacks. And so that is something that we're just getting away from. It's language that we don't use anymore, and it is coming away from the stigma. However, we have parents and grandparents who grew up with, Jesus will fix it, just pray about it. That's how we grew up. That was most of our experience with mental health concerns, whether you were male or female. But I also feel like now that we're in this space where we're recognizing it more, I do believe more attention needs to be paid to the men, because I can tell you in my own family, depression and anxiety are huge. And the men who deal with it are not always amenable to conversation about it, but that is starting to change. And I welcome that. And it's good to see.
Yeah. As an adult, like I've dealt with anxiety and had struggles with that. And I think back to when I was younger, and I think I had the same type of struggles, but I just did not have words to express what was happening. Like I would get physically sick that I would be so anxious. So I'm glad that there is more attention on mental health in general.
You know what? If I can add to that, the one emotion that was recognized and acceptable in our community was anger. Because the
Yeah.
minute you showed any type of sadness, fear, confusion, or being vulnerable, that was just off limits. And so that's why our community, especially with our Black men, the first thing they'll say is angry Black woman, angry Black man, because that's the first emotion that was tied to us growing up instead of actually recognizing what it was.
Yeah.
Right, right. And we have a lot of reasons. Anger is definitely justified, but it can't just run amok. It just can't be
Exactly.
rampant throughout our community. Everybody's mad. It can't be that. We have to have a handle on how we interact. And they're justifiably, we have been through so much trauma, and it has changed us. I always talk about how, epigenetically we have been changed, but we
Mhm.
really need to um realize. Now you can look at it from that standpoint. You can look at it from a spiritual perspective, that anger is the thing that has protected you. And that's what jumps up when things happen. Anger jumps up in front, that spirit of anger. So, however you choose to look at it, the fact is that it's there and it is so prevalent, justifiably so. But we have to get a handle on who we are and how we interact and how we move. And I love how you mentioned Dr. Camillia, that we, since COVID especially, have not been communal, and that's one thing that's intrinsic within us. We have to be that way. I don't think that we're healthy without it. I don't think that we are, and I love what you're doing because it brings people together. And unless we are coming together, and because there's something about the energy, we transmit energy. And so we have to have that in order to be healthy and whole. You just can't. That's why we over, grandma's house on Sunday. That's why we go over mama's house and do laundry. That's why it's all the things. And we
Absolutely.
keep inviting the wrong people to the cookout when we really just need to make sure each other's
This
there.
is true. This is
You know what I'm
true.
saying? When it comes to who gonna be there, who all gonna be there? That's the question, right? So we need to know who all gonna be there and just show up and stop inviting other people and just make sure we're there.
But
Right.
you know what? I've grown to learn that even disagreements are healthy, right? Because you end up learning a different emotional vocabulary, how to handle things, how to deal with things. So that's so funny, but you're right.
Also, I was going to say that anger can be a sign of depression, especially in men. So,
This is true, but also too, whenever you're going through something, anger is the easiest emotion. Okay. So that's why I feel like it's not fair whenever they do title us as angry black women or angry black
Correct.
men. We're not the only one that experience anger. Everyone
Mhm.
experiences anger, especially when we lose the loved one. Okay. So, and I'm only admitting that y'all know I'm going to be 100% real because I've been talking to, my fellow co-hosts about the things I go through and I share on other episodes. But Dr. Harris, just to let you know, this man up here, I did lose my father back in December to cancer,
Oh,
and
I'm sorry to hear that.
thank you. And I feel like we are one because like daddy's girl. I was a daddy's girl as well. But with everything that come along and the things that he put into place, um, had some angry emotional situations. But then
Mhm.
also too, I have to channel in on what you're all saying with the way we do black men, especially the way they do handle certain things. With my dad, how he was, and I told them he was the type of person with the different life experiences. He tried to do something a little bit different. So there were family vacations every year. He took along my mom and my stepdad too. Okay.
Wow, I love that.
So it's all about like what we experience right now and how we deal with things. Because I have to say, the way this man he led his life and the things he did, it has guided me right now with how I react to certain things or how I look at things. Because if anything, before then, baby, I will pop off. If you want it, got it. But don't laugh, Shannon. But it's like now I look at certain things and maybe I could
Yeah.
be in a parking lot somewhere and somebody do something to me, cut me off. I just look at them and say, bless your heart. Because I know my blessings. I know where I came from. Even though we do experience certain things, we know where we came from and the things that we experience. And everybody don't have it like that. And I feel like when it comes to us as the black community, our blessings aren't received like other people's blessings are. So that's why I look at it along the lines of, hey, like, I just count your blessings. If you have them, just count them. Even if it's a little bit, just count them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I can honestly tell you as daddy's girl. The other two daughters may say that too, but I was the first. I always we have this running joke. I tell them the rest of them, I tell them they only exist because they had me first, right? So, the first
Hey,
child, you want to see what the first child looked like to see how you
hey,
mesh.
I'm going to send this to my brother later.
Yeah, but when you lose a parent, especially when you're close to your parents, you look at life differently. Um, mm, I now feel that after losing my father, I'm prepared for the other losses that are supposed to come, right? Because you live long enough, it's a full circle. You live and you die. But certain things in life prepare you. And losing my dad the way I lost him and going through a little bit of depression myself, and coming up on the other side of it, and going through therapy and learning what grief is, it's almost like I now have a second life, right? Because now I have to learn how to live without a piece of me. Because my parents, are my first image of life. And so now I'm living with a piece of me gone. And so you just look at life differently. One, I never realized that when people say life is short, life is too short, I'm like, those are just jargons that people throw out. And I'm like, oh no, life is short. And if when it comes to mental health, I had a panelist say one time, my grandma used to say, if you live long enough, you'll go through some things. I had a panelist state that if you live long enough, you will experience a mental health concern. And that is one of the truest statements I've ever heard and witnessed myself. And you will. And it's how you navigate through it. It's the self-talk. It depends on friends, family, whatever the thing is that you have to gravitate to pull you through. It depends on how you do it. And everybody exists with different levels of strength.
Absolutely. Dr. Harris, when you talk to Black men across the country, what are the most common barriers that you hear when it comes to seeking help?
Oh, so let me just say this. Black men actually have a lot to say. They just never have the space to say it.
Yeah.
Right. So when I do speak with Black men, um, one of the things that gives them a barrier is being weaponized. I also feel that they don't have a permission to rest. They talk about being tired. They don't want to be a burden. They were taught that they got to handle things on their own, and they can't show any sign of weakness. So the biggest thing that Black men deal with is shame and fear of judgment more than anything. That's been a commonality amongst the various Black men and boys. And our young boys think just like our grown men because our men was once boys. They think the
Yeah.
same. Not only do they think the same, but our men are teaching their boys the same. So we end up having, as a generation goes on, you now have another generation of men that have the same exact feelings and emotions as it relates to being able to share them.
So do you feel like it's more about cultural stigma versus like access or like cost, availability, proximity, and all those things?
Um, I think it's a whole community, like, for lack of better words, ecosystem. Our community and our culture, uh, we're women, once girls. You heard, boys don't cry, man up, handle it, dry your tears. Why are you crying so much? And I think for our boys that become men, it becomes a survival strategy in a world that treats Black men as, if they show those kind of emotions, that they're weak and that there's failure attached to it. So it's culture. The community reinforces it. You hear it at a young age in your household. Then when you go to school, you hear it. And then as you get older, you hear it. And then when you begin to date, or even our Black women, seeing a man that's too emotional makes them seem weak. So to me, it's a cultural system that was created. And until we break it, it'll just be different casts, same story.
Considering the app and everything, the platform that you do have, are you accepting or have the option where other Black men can come on board with you and help you, like even far as be a mentor when it comes to that challenge of where sometimes fathers teach their sons to be a certain way and not express their emotions? So, do you have any way of, if someone listening to this podcast can come along with you and provide their assistance?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I welcome it. Because at the end of the day, I'm still a Black woman, right? So there's
Yes.
still a lot of things that I do not know. There is a significant reason why God created man and woman, right? I'm just a storyteller that happens to want to tell my story without any shame or guilt in what my father did, but with the hopes of reinforcing and bullying our Black men. I would love to get on stage with 10 to 15 Black men that are supporting me and guiding me. Well, I won't say that don't support me because they do, right? But believe it or not, Black men still want to be in the background.
Right,
You'd be
right.
surprised. Yeah, they still want to be in the background, but having that support and having mentors on board for the young men that do come and even men, I think it's absolutely amazing and great. I've had men stand up in the audience and say, um, I never got my first hug from another man until I was in my 40s.
Wow.
So our men are missing being vulnerable and knowing what actual love feels like from someone that doesn't want anything from them.
It's interesting because I always talk about how men tend to exist in silos. And this is something that I've been made aware of just because of where I sit in my family. Like the only um, girl in my generation on one side for sure. And all of that shows up. All of it shows up. And even when I have conversations, I was talking about how one time I had a bad breakup and I called my brother, and my brother is very stoic. He's not gonna, you'll never feel or see any emotion from my big brother. And I called him and I'm like losing it all over the phone. 30 minutes, I think I probably talked. He sat there. And at the end, he said, "Are you finished?" I said,
That's my brother. That's my brother.
and I'm
Yes.
like going through my whole stuff. And I said, "Yes." And he said, "What would you like done to him?"
Ah,
That was it. That was it. Girl, stop all that. Get to the point. I'm going to do what I need to do. That was my brother. What would you like to have done to him? That's it. And so, with that, I realized, okay, so he wasn't feeling anything. And I was going through.
Now it's
And
funny. It's funny you say that. I'm sorry to cut you off, KK, but it's funny you say that because I've had my brother, do the same thing. And then I also, this is how I knew my brother had a little growth to him, as opposed to the stuff that he used to get into. I called him that last time, and I was just telling him da, 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 and he sound like my dad. He was just like, he let me do my thing. Same thing. He like, you done? I like, yeah. He's like, what bills he pay are yours? And I'm sitting here like, nothing. What he do for you and your kids? Nothing. Nigga, why you worried about it then? He's like, man, it's almost hung up in your face. And I'm like, why you gonna hang up in my face? Like, I'm doing all this other stuff, but I feel you on that. I was just telling you because I understand. I understand that.
yeah. And and I know my brothers have my back. Like my brothers would never, they it was just me and I got male cousins and my brothers, and that's it,
Yeah.
and so, and of course my dad and my mom, but I lost my mom, so I know what it means to lose a parent. But
Mhm.
but knowing I had to operate different. I had to move different. And so
Yes.
the way I interact with them is much different. And I believe that because of my relationship with them, and they're very transparent with me, and I thank God for that. They're very, very,
Yes.
very transparent with me. Like they're gonna keep it 100 no matter what. They're so
Yes.
transparent, and we'll get to the root of it in a second. Look, this is how men think. This is what you need to do. You're thinking, and it's a blessing to me because there's information that I receive from men that oftentimes, women who don't have that, they don't get that information. But I'm surrounded by men and I've been protected by good men my whole life.
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that. But I also know that they live in silos, they exist in these silos, and it's not healthy.
Yeah, this is true. I think I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Black men. That way, y'all understand the importance
yeah.
of your presence. Even though it may seem like no one cares, just you being you and being upfront. Some people on the outside be like, "Oh, that was a little insensitive for you to reply that way." Okay. Whereas the people up close, the little sisters or big sisters you have, the cousins you have, you are appreciated.
Very much.
Yes, yes, you are appreciated. Even if nobody tells you on a regular basis, just that simple text or as somebody asks you what you up to or what you doing, or hey, can you come over here and let's we cook it out, or there's this light bulb, this light, just you are appreciated. Your presence is appreciated, even with the little cousins. So just realize that whenever you're counting your blessings and take that into consideration because the small things matter too.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because with this whole thing, like I've been talking about families this whole season, and I really feel like one of the things that we keep hearing about are things that happen to Black women. Like every 5 hours, we lose a Black woman to DV, you know. But with that said, this conversation that we're having is a great opportunity for us to focus on this part of what we need as a community in order to build those strong Black families. Because I'm telling you, there's power in that. And I frankly believe that that's how we regain power, really, is to just get together, be intentional. I've been saying this the whole time. I know y'all sick of me. Get together,
Stop it.
be
I love it.
intentional about how we form families, be intentional about how we move and build, 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 and have a whole bunch of babies. I think that's we need to do that. I'm not saying 10 or 12 or 13 and nothing like that, but y'all need to have some babies. I'm just y'all need to have some babies.
She
Stable
not talking to
foundation.
me.
On,
On
yeah,
a stable
on
foundation.
a stable foundation, not just out there just doing it.
Build
Right.
families, build legacy, buy
Yes.
land, do all the things. Yes,
Healing. Just, yeah, let's make this perfectly
yes,
clear.
yes.
You know what? I will say, KK, thanks for bringing up domestic violence because that is part of the story, right? So, not everyone that comes to the conference get to experience this part of the conference, which is in Dayton, Ohio. So, in Dayton, Ohio, I actually kicked off that conference with my friend from high school, very close best friend of mine. She actually is the surviving story of my father's story. So she was shot in the back
Mm.
and in the hand by her boyfriend, and he shot himself in the head, and they both lived. And my dad, they both passed away. So she's just so that's how we tell our story in Dayton, Ohio. We try to promote that as much as we can. So in Dayton, Ohio, that is the one conference where it's completely
Trip. Okay, sorry.
yeah, it's completely dedicated to domestic violence and mental health. And although her company called Live Out Loud is dedicated to helping women and girls with domestic violence, she has a caveat to it where at the same time, we have to help our men understand how to balance and handle their emotions. So again, we can have healthy households because there's nothing worse than having 13 kids that experience domestic violence, or witness that kind of trauma and childhood trauma. So that is the one caveat that's different in the conference. Her and I do that together. So it's mind blowing.
I love that.
It is amazing.
Dr.
Thank you.
Harris, Dr. Harris, you've talked about having Black men on stage with you. Can you tell us a little bit about the conferences that you have and kind of what they look like and feel like?
So I get excited when I talk about the conferences because I forgot the count. I should have had the count. I get a little off every now and then, but I'm coming up on like the 17th or 18th conference. So God has been good. He has been moving. But what's so interesting is that people really don't know what to expect. They see we do a traditional just flyer Black men's mental health. And as we get closer, we put the faces, right? So it's like the kings of we don't know. But you see these amazing, beautiful, handsome Black men on a flyer, and they are coming to talk. What people don't know, that alone is power. Have you ever sat in a room where the only voices you hear is Black men? Do you know the power? Do you know what exudes in that room? I get excited. So Imagine a space where Black men walk in expecting a lecture, but instead they find warmth, humor, honesty. On that day, I tell people all the time, on this day, I can't account for the other 364 days of the year, but on this day, which is typically a Saturday, the Black man is celebrated. He is highlighted. He is rewarded for being just him. He is given permission to be vulnerable. He is given a voice. He gets to win a prize. uh, so it's like the panel is more like a barbershop conversation, but with an emotional depth, right? We talk fatherhood, trauma, and what healing looks like. So imagine you have men on a stage of different calibers, different backgrounds, but on this day, titles, amount of money you make, all of that is out the door. On this day, we are all equal. And we are all coming here just to talk healing, unity, how to impact and give our Black men permission to just be, right? No, nothing else after, no father, no brother, no cousin, to just be. Just on this day, just for these 4 hours, to just be. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You see emotions, you see tears, you see laughter, you see joy, you see humor, you see unity. When those Black men walk away, they walk away with another brother, with mentorship. It's just so amazing.
I love that.
Wow. Y'all,
Yeah.
she gave me an idea. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this show. Yeah,
And
gave
I'm
me,
not just saying that. I
that's
promise I'm not just saying
amazing.
it. It is not a sad day at all. It is not a sad day.
Who
And
is this
imagine
for? Is it for anybody?
our conferences is for anyone. It is not specific to race. It is not specific to gender. It is open to men, women, and mature teens. I say mature teens, right? Because sometimes people think that Timmy can run around while people are talking, right? But my most touching conference with a child at it, one of my panelists said, if you don't mind, I have a little boy that I'm mentoring. He's 7. Can he come? I'm thinking, 7? If you feel that way, that's okay. Um, that little boy to this day, I'll go back and I look at my pictures, and is that's one of the pictures where I hear God say, keep going. This little boy sat in the back of the room. Well, the gentleman has shared that he had been getting bullied, right? Obviously, his father may not be that present in his life, but he sat in the back of the room with a notepad, taking notes. Now,
Timmy?
the
Yes.
images, and I'm gonna post some of these images because we're coming up on a heavy feed of our conference. His notes said, "I want to be just like these men. I
Oh,
hope I get to meet these men like." I didn't even know he was there. I forgot that he told me he was coming. And so when the conference ended, he wanted a hug and he wanted to meet the men on the panel. That was so heartwarming because in that moment, that little boy walked away
With
with,
something.
yeah, with the opportunity to be more than what he thought he was or what his experiences was, and to me, to know that he had been getting bullied. And I said, you let me know if anybody's teasing you. You see all these people in here, we will beat them up. And you'd be surprised that a kid will take that. That will make that kid come out of that feeling of feeling weak and feel like, oh, I have an army behind me. So it was amazing. He sat in there and his mom said, you just don't know how that changed his life.
absolutely.
Yeah, men, women, mature teens, any race, it does not matter. There is no discrimination. I'll say this since we're on it, because I've gotten, our people, social media. Um, I've had someone say, well, what about I'm an Indian man? And I'm like, hey, listen, it's open for all. It's the same as if you go to school to become a doctor or a lawyer. At some point, you have to specialize, right? You have to specialize in being a pediatrician, internal medicine. And I just happens to specialize in Black men, and I'm proud of it.
That's amazing.
That is
That's
wonderful.
amazing.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
What do you say to a Black man who's listening right now and thinking, Yeah, I don't know if this is for me.
I would say that if you are a Black man, it is for you. Even the Black man that has grown up with both parents in the household, there is a cultural, it's almost like that, receiving that baby food. There's this same baby food we all were fed. So I would say to him, it is for you. You've been carrying a lot. You you have to have permission to rest. And so I can't account for what you do before or after this conference, but come on this day and just rest. If you do nothing else, leave the lawn mowing, leave, gotta go to a sporting events with the kids. Come see what it feels like to put something down. Just one thing, just for one moment. You don't have to talk. You don't have to share. You don't have to be broken to belong. You do not have to have a mental health issue concern to come to this conference. This is simply coming for us to come together as a community and to inspire and uplift the man in the household. Because I don't know why we have become so conditioned with celebrating single mothers. There's nothing cute, there's nothing funny about that. And so we have to be more proactive as celebrating the Black man for all that he is and all that he is not. So I would tell him just put everything down and come. Have a moment to rest.
Lay your burdens down.
Lay your burdens
Yes.
Come on.
down. Just show up.
Last question here. What do you want Black women, like mothers, partners, sisters, friends, to understand about supporting the Black men in their lives?
I would say this because keep in mind when I do these conferences, I get a little bit of grief and knowledge too, as a Black woman who's been married before and who is raising a son. My son is 20 years old. Support doesn't mean fixing. I promise you, I thought I could save my daddy, honestly. Like, honestly. Even my siblings said, when you came, we just knew daddy was going to be good. And so I've carried that torch all my life into my relationships, thinking that I can save and make everything right. Sometimes just listening without solution is the most healing thing you can do for anyone. Um, Encouragement works better than pressure. Just talking to someone lands better than you need therapy, right? That is sometimes the easiest thing to say. You need to go to therapy. Something wrong with you. How about just saying, talk to me. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me how you feeling. And I will say, it just hit me. That's crazy. It just hit me. When my daddy was in his demise, he, as the oldest, I feel like I just have a genuine connection to my parents. So to hear my dad crying uncontrollably as a man that has never showed emotions, I knew he was in a deep part. And I said, Daddy, talk to me. Tell me how you feeling. And he was so emotional. Like he just was crying and crying. And I remember he calmed down and his best friend was in the background. He said, nobody has been able to get your dad to calm down like you did. And all I said was, Daddy, tell me what you feeling. Talk to me. And he couldn't get his words out, but in his tears, I understood his pain. And oftentimes it's just being patient and listening. We we are in a world where everyone has something to say. Nobody's listening to listen. Everybody's listening to quickly respond and give their opinion. And I'm talking to myself too as I say this, um, that encouraging and just support. Support goes further than anything you can ever imagine.
That's powerful.
It really
Thank you
is.
for that,
Yes,
because
thank
that
you.
looks and sounds a lot like something that we are missing.
Yeah.
And, the world has never been kind, but it has been kinder. It has
Hmm.
been more empathetic,
Yeah.
and we have been more human than what we are experiencing right now. So
Yeah.
I think it's huge to remind ourselves, remind each other, particularly our men, because they are in a particular position in this world. And so, because of that, it is a good reminder to just simply listen and simply be present. um, and to operate that way from an authentic place, an empathetic place, a place that judgment cannot exist.
Yeah. And then also too, I'm learning too, and I know I have brothers. I'm real close with almost all the men in my family, but men open up slowly, not because they don't
Mhm.
trust you, but because they were never taught how.
Mhm.
They were never taught how to communicate, how to show emotion. So even when we don't have that patience, we have to give a little bit more patience, and you'd be surprised that what the overflow looks like once they start regurgitating and you give them permission to just be. And you have a soft listening ear and it doesn't sound like weaponization. That's when you can really reach men when you just listen.
They'll also shut down real quick too.
Very,
So you have to
very.
be careful with being someone who they can trust with their thoughts and feelings.
I did my conferences, different moments hit me. It's crazy because my father's story is he completed a murder suicide. But I'm coming up on my 17th conference, and every time I speak for the first 5 minutes, it's different every time. Every time it's different, even though it lands at the same ending. But um, men need other men too.
Mhm.
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 They need other men too. And so we have to empower men, period, on the knowledge of how to be there for a man that's vulnerable. Because men don't know how to receive another man that's vulnerable or that's having an emotional breakdown.
Yes.
My two brothers were my father's first, um, they were right there, and both of them were experiencing him in his breakdown. And one brother, which is a younger, and I don't hold it against him, he said, "Come on, Dad, you tripping. Like you doing too much. Like you a handsome man. You can get over this." The other brother, who is older, who is patient, who has children, who has navigated through emotions, and who has also lost a son, said, "What are you feeling in this moment? What makes you feel like you can't move forward?" So you had two of his sons, both with same love, but they were reaching him differently. And we have to know, I say, if you don't know what to say, sometimes it's best not to say anything. Because when when you have a man where everything's just been poured in, I like to say, like my father, he reaches a place where he just exploded. Everything in his childhood, in his failed marriage, and his failure with his children. On that day, everything showed up, and the woman whose life he took, she was a casualty of war. He had already had a war going on, and she fell right into the line of fire. And so as I do these conferences, I noticed that of all the things I've asked my daddy for, "Daddy, can you give me a car when I was younger? Daddy, you did this." I never asked my daddy, was he okay? Because the world told me he was already. The world told me he's supposed to be okay. He's supposed to take care of the bills. He's supposed to go out and put food on the table. He's supposed to be the head of the household. The world told me he was everything. And I never asked him, "How do you feel? Are you okay?"
Right, and we assume that those broad shoulders are can bear everything. We
Abs-
assume. They got broad shoulders, they're strong, they have all the upper body strength, right? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. We have to be more proactive in just being there for each other and just saying simple words. "How you feel today?" How you really feel today, you know? Because it's easy to say, "I'm okay." Everybody say, "I'm okay."
Yeah.
And even me, in navigating this with my father and being the oldest of five and always being the one that everybody come to, um, when people say, "How you feeling?" If I'm not okay, I say, "You know what? Today's not a good day. I'm actually not okay." Um, and this has transcended down to my son. My son was able to call me up late one night and says, "Mom, I need therapy." And I was terrified. And I said, "Okay, tell me how you feeling and tell me what you're experiencing." He said, "I have emotions that I don't know where they belong." I said, "God, and I truly believe that he was able to share that with me because he comes to the conferences and he has witnessed where he will become a man, of that age one day, and he's seeing these men share and break it down and being vulnerable, and he said, "Wow, I can start that now." And so, God has been good. This journey has been rewarding.
This is a powerful conversation, and I
Yeah.
think one that needs to be had. For the men who are out there watching or listening, we want to hear from you. We want to know about your mental health journey or your struggles or what has been something that's helped you heal. We want to hear from you. Lisa, will you be blessing us with a piece today?
Yes, I think I could do a little bit something. Black man, who are you? I mean, are you who they say you are? Because I dig you. I pray over your body while you sleep. You make me smile, even though there are many pieces to the huge puzzle of life. Your presence, your light, your patience, which means so much. Even though they may not think of the moments like this, I feel it's a woman's job to ensure the right one is chosen for a stable foundation. Being a man is huge, but being a good man is immense. You are like the example I want my children to witness. Ain't nothing like black love, so you, black man, you are the power you illuminate. The stride we pride and grateful of the pride. Take in the devotion, please share. Donate your drive, baby. Your lack of creative design got us all in a bind, causing two thoughts in your mind, one of the support and the other of the hater. The rest, we not gonna worry about. So don't you worry your hustling little heart, because you are a professional. You are needed. Black man, you are who you say you are. Thank you.
Yes.
I love that. Oh my gosh, I might need to have you at one of the conferences.
Yes, let me do my little ponytail. I travel.
So before we end the show, we always give our listeners some kind of action that we feel like they should take to better the Black community as a whole or to level up within ourselves or our families. So, Dr. Harris, we'll let you go last so you can kind of think about what you want to say. But what is your call to action for the culture?
My call to action is just taking everything you've heard on this episode and let it resonate within yourself and be more open. Especially black men. I mean, we can't tell you how to be black men at all, but we do care for you and we want you to at least use resources that's available, because again, with all the help in the village, I promise sometimes it does work out. So count, and also count your blessings. That's another thing too.
My call to action is for in the community, first and foremost, for us to encourage our sons to become practitioners of mental health. Whether you are, we got athletes, we got entertainers, we do have physicians, but I would like to see more practitioners who can speak directly to men from men's experiences. And so whether it is through the military that experience is gained, because I know young men who gain that through the military, or whether it's just at a community center, whether it's at a church, whatever it is, even if you become a licensed clinical social worker or whatever in your area of expertise, I would love to see more Black men in the classroom and also as practitioners of mental health, because what I have seen are Black men out here who are seeking it, but we need people who reflect our experiences. And so it's no shade to women who are in the field, but If you are Black, you want to see somebody Black. If you are LGBT, you want someone who is LGBT. If you are married, you want to talk to someone who is married. And for Black men, there is not enough representation. And I would love to see our sons, uncles, fathers, whoever, go into it and become practitioners in whatever capacity they can.
Woo, mic drop.
I'm calling the culture to treat your mental health like you would treat any other issues, like health issues. Check on your mental health regularly because it could literally be a matter of life or death. There is somebody out there who can help. I know that there are sometimes setbacks and limitations, but there is somebody who can help. I'm also calling the culture to love on the Black men in their lives. Dr. Harris?
Yes, I would say for our Black men, healing is not optional, it's necessary.
Mhm.
Show up for yourself, not because you're weak, not because you're failing, but because you're human. Show up for other Black men. Show up for the next generation.
Yes.
The way we change things is by making change. Let young boys see a version of you and a version of the manhood that includes softness, that includes self-care, that includes emotional fluency. Let them inherit something other than how we started this conversation, silence. So the call to action is, as a whole, as a community, we have to come together. We have to love each other differently. We have to give each other permission to just be without the judgment. Judge
Yes.
not, right? I think the further we get away from judgment and the stereotypes and the stigmas, we can start to accept and just love people for just being who you are.
Love that. I'm also calling the culture to go to one of these conferences. You got some coming up, right, Dr. Harris?
I
Tell us
do.
about what's coming.
I get a little giddy. But yeah. Yes, so Dayton, Ohio, my 4th annual is coming up on Saturday, April 18th. The last few conferences in Dayton have been standing room only, so I'm asking God for the same. So Saturday, April 18th, we have Birmingham, Alabama, that is now on the calendar. That's coming up Saturday, May 16th. Columbus, Mississippi has been moved. So before Columbus, we have Atlanta, Georgia, that will be on Saturday, July 25th. We have Columbus, Mississippi, that is on Saturday, September 19th. And we're planning for DC, Houston, and possibly Detroit again. So it is cool.
Yes. Oh my
And
God.
and the way you can go to see the conference, without me giving an Eventbrite link, is you just go to BMM, which is Black Men's Mental Health Conference, just the initials, BMMHC.com. And when you click on it, you go to conferences and it lists all the conferences that are current and coming up. And also it lists the conferences that are past. And you can listen to the videos of some of our past conferences. But yeah, I get real excited when the conferences is coming because I just know that somebody's life is being saved. So
Yes.
forgive me for my excitement.
No, I love it.
Yes.
Special thanks to you, Dr. Camillia Harris, for joining us today. All of the information about the conferences and your organization, I'm going to put links for our listeners in the show notes. So make sure you check that out. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and click that plus in Apple Podcast or the subscribe button in YouTube to make sure that you keep getting the episodes. We also love to hear from you, so tell us what you love about the show in the comments and your 5-star reviews. We do respond and sometimes we repost, so we're looking forward to hearing from all of our listeners out there. Until we meet again.
King and queens keep doing big things. Let's go.
Thank you.